Welcome to the fourth Embodied Eating webinar. Today we're going to talk about choice, choice with food, choice with thoughts, the ability to say yes, and the ability to say no. So choosing, being able to choose some things and reject others. So as per our usual format, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the slides. And so I will share screen. Oh, there we go. All right, perfect. And now I just need to go to slideshow. Wow, I've done this a lot. You think I'd have this figured out by now. A slideshow, there we go, play from start. All right. Right, so as I said, today we'll be talking about choice. And as a review, I want to go over the internal resources that we've been developing over the past several sessions. So first, on this left-hand side of the slide, we're talking about embodied wisdom. So developing a connection with our body. And in terms of this, the first week, we did some tapping to actually physically make that connection and be aware of different parts of our body. The second week, we did a focus on our body and a calming meditation. The third week, the last time we met, I took us through some face yoga, and this is important because we store a lot of anger in our face, and a lot of us will eat emotionally when we're angry. We will like to eat crunchy things as a way to dissipate stress, and specifically as a way to dissipate anger. And then this was also last week, or the last time we met, I had you do the tapping on different parts of your body and starting to bring awareness, and had you to start to bring awareness to aspects of your body that you're grateful for, and especially ways in which your body helps you to accomplish your values, what's important for you in your life. And we'll move further with that today with some calming meditation. We'll also go over a little bit of self-assessment today. And in general, self-assessment on a regular basis is important for growth. And I say that personally, and I say that professionally. And it's especially important when we're trying to establish and internalize new thoughts and beliefs and new ways of coping and letting go of coping mechanisms that are no longer helpful. So we'll do a little bit of self-assessment today. And then we are going to work with our internal dieter and internal overeater. We're also going to work today with managing stress, because stress is a huge part of why we sometimes eat too much. And I would put managing stress under coping mechanisms and embodied wisdom, becoming more wise about how to manage stress. And then we'll have a mindful choice of food exercise. So those are the goals for today. It's ambitious, and let's see where we get. Okay, so last time I had us, I introduced us to this idea of developing values around our health goals. So sometimes we will say, you know, my goal is to lose 40 pounds. And that can be a goal, and we may or may not reach that goal for a variety of reasons. And the bigger value associated with that specific goal might be, so if you look on the slide, that value might include fitness. So maybe your bigger goal is to get fit. You can get fit in a lot of ways. That might include losing 40 pounds. It also might include increasing your exercise level. It might include changing the types of food you eat. So I would encourage you to take some time to see what your values are around health, and those values are going to become very important to hold on to once we meet specific goals. So once you lose 40 pounds, does that mean like that you just get to go back to what you were doing? Does that mean that you've accomplished your health and you never need to worry about it again? No. You know, health is an ongoing process, and our specific goals and how we achieve that is going to look different over different time periods in our life. Our fitness, the way that looks at age 20, is going to look different than age 40, than age 60. So it's something bigger that we can hook into. In terms of this program, I am encouraging compassion for yourself. That is often the best fit with actually health and well-being. Curiosity, so, you know, lack of judgment and getting curious about what you're seeing. Choice is important. Fitness, I put in there because that can be there, and it's important to be fit. Honesty, mindfulness, patience, persistence, and skillfulness. So I'm definitely wanting you to develop skills, and part of those skills are going to include patience and persistence. Developing patience and persistence, we'll be teaching, and we are teaching some mindfulness. And, you know, when we can get honest in a curious, compassionate way, that is often the foundation for being able to make change. And then I just have some specific goals here for the program, and they might also be goals for you to look at to see if you want to incorporate. So last week we looked at values, and this is values for health, and this is one idea of what some of those values may be and some of the goals that may go with that. I would encourage you to find your own values and develop your own short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. All right, the other piece of self-assessment, and this is going to be based on your values and your goals, okay? Once you have a sense of what those are, and you know where you are and where you want to go, take a look at how you spend your waking hours. And we looked at this the first week, and so I would encourage you over the next couple of weeks to revisit this pie chart, write down how you are spending your waking hours, and then begin to ask yourself some questions. Where have I been able to make some changes since starting this program? What resources have I been able to implement? And then, of course, the last question on the left-hand side, what changes do I still want to make in terms of how I spend my time that will help move me towards my values and my goals? All right. So I would suggest taking 15 or so minutes to do this over the next couple of days. All right. So this slide, we're going to spend a bit of time on, and we're looking at a common polarization that occurs in a lot of people. And in the case of people who overeat, that's what gets activated on the opposite side. So it is so common for people who overeat to experience stress and to have symptoms of very mild depression. When we have stress and we don't have a felt experience of pleasure in our life, it is really natural to turn to food. For some of us, the stress / lack of pleasure can be due to overwork. It can be because, we're a caregiver. We might be taking care of our parents. We might be involved in our children's life. At work, we may tend to give a lot. So these are some common ways in which we are stressed and have that lack of pleasure. And that overeater is then there to help bring a little bit of pleasure to our life. There's a sense of we deserve it. There could be a sense of, feeling fatigued and wanting that quick pick-me-up. And so on the right-hand side, what we have here this is just showing how stress works physiologically in our brain. So I want to keep this really simple. We have the experience of pleasure when dopamine is released in our brain. All right. So dopamine is activated with sex, with food, with any biological drive that is needed for survival, right? In nature, the way we activate dopamine is through sweet foods. So fruits, some vegetables, that's about as sweet as we can get in nature. When we have refined sugar and processed foods, they act like a drug in our brain. And so what I mean by that is that sugar, refined sugars, and highly processed food, we build a tolerance to them. And so we have super sweet foods, we get this much of a dopamine release, and it feels really, really good. Let's say we continue to eat that super sweet food every evening. Our brain builds our system, I should say, builds a tolerance to it. So instead of dopamine going up to this level, the dopamine response may be here. So then we may need to have twice as much to get that same response of dopamine. So it acts like a drug in terms of tolerance and us needing more and more to experience the same pleasure. What happens with stress is interesting. So when we have chronic stress, so I'm not talking about a stressful event that passes. When we live in a state of chronic stress, cortisol levels increase. And so cortisol actually inhibits dopamine. So let's say you ate the same 3 cookies that you ate the night, but that you ate a year ago, but now you're under chronic stress. Instead of the dopamine level being experienced here, you're going to experience this much dopamine. That is part of the reason why people who are mildly depressed and chronically stressed tend to overeat. It takes a lot more for us to experience pleasure, us to experience that dopamine release. The other piece of chronic stress is that it doesn't feel good. We're not getting pleasure in other areas of our life. So we tend to compensate with food. And then the last piece is that chronic stress makes us tired. And when we're tired, our system knows that those simple sugars, right, give us a rush. We also use caffeine. And caffeine and simple sugars actually act to further stress the system in the long run, but in that short run, we get a little boost. All right, so that's some of the physiology of overworking and stress, and how that when we eat more, our overeater becomes elevated. More stress, more food. More stress, getting more tired, more food. So that's the way it works. And so one thing that we need to do is to, one, learn to say no to some things. So we need to reduce our stressors, right? So we can practice saying no. Or at the very least, I encourage people, even if they think they're going to say yes, but just to say, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And give yourself, 24 hours to think about it. Another way to reduce stress is to ask for help. So for example, this past year, I've been feeling really stressed about making meals in the evening. And part of that stress for me is that my kids didn't appreciate, what I would cook. And I was beginning to feel resentful. And so, I have teen daughters who are 16. And what I ended up doing was, my one daughter loves to cook. So now she's cooking once or twice a week. And my other daughter, who's 16, is always involved with dishes and getting that cleaned up. And so that's been really helpful. So getting creative about finding ways to ask for help to reduce your load. It seems redundant, but reducing, it seems obvious, reducing screen time for a lot of us is important. Screen time is interesting. So, we're stressed, we don't have a lot of pleasure. And when we watch screen as a way to zone out, and both overeating and screen are zoning out, right? It doesn't restore us. It just kind of pauses us and makes us, it often isn't restorative. It often just pauses us and keeps us in that sort of foggy, tired, stuckness. So you could focus on reducing screen, or alternatively, we're going to do a little bit of breath work and yoga and meditation here in a minute. You could focus on adding in some meditation, some breath work, because those for people tend to be restorative. And if breath work and meditation and yoga aren't for you, what does restore you? Having coffee with a friend, going for a walk in nature, finding some ways that you can get restored. And the other pieces, in the beginning, I was talking about how sugars contribute to stress and how refined sugar activates that addiction. I don't want to call it addiction, but activates that dopamine cycle, which leads to increased tolerance and stresses our system. So the other piece is to really begin to slowly changing your diet, because changing the diet is stressful. So finding one food item that you regularly eat that you can begin to shift to a more whole food is really helpful in terms of reducing stress in the system. All right, now of course, we can't get rid of all our stress, nor would we want to. So part of our work, and this is for many of us who overeat, this is going to be the bulk of our work here, is managing stress. And so today, I'm going to take us, let's see, we've got about 40 minutes. For the next 20 minutes, the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to take us through breath work, yoga, and then we'll end in meditation. So wherever you're seated, get yourself comfortable. And we'll begin by bringing our awareness to the breath. And so in the beginning, just notice the breath moving in and out of your nostrils. And of course, if your nose is stuffy, you can breathe in and out of your mouth. But just notice the flow of the breath moving through the nostrils. And then you're going to take your right hand, and you're going to take your thumb and your ring finger, and then second finger, third finger go down. And you're going to place your thumb on your right nostril and your ring finger over your left nostril. And so just continue to breathe with the thumb and ring finger on either side of the nostril. And I'll actually switch so it looks like I'm doing the same thing. And just feel the breath moving in and out through your nostrils. And if your nose is stuffed, you can just keep your hand down and imagine that you're breathing in and out through your nostrils. And then you're going to take an exhale, and then you'll close your right nostril with your thumb and inhale through your left nostril. Now switch. Ring finger closes left nostril, exhale through right nostril. Inhale through your right nostril, exhale through your left nostril. Inhale through your left nostril, switch, exhale through your right nostril. And so continue with this, inhaling through your right, exhale through your left, inhale through the left, exhale through the right. And so continuing back and forth. And if your nose is stuffed, you can imagine, breathing in through your left nostril, exhale through your right nostril. Inhale through your right nostril and feel the air exhaling through your left nostril. Keeping your awareness on the air flowing through the left and right sides of the nostrils. And noticing that movement back and forth between left and right, and how balancing that is for the body. You can also get a sense of where the body is out of balance a little bit. If one, nostril is more open than the other, so you can notice imbalances this way. But moving back and forth between that left, more in yoga terms, more sun, more energetic side of the brain, and then that right, more creative, intuitive part of the brain. So part of the balance is shifting that awareness back and forth between, right and left, left and right. All right, the next time you exhale through your left nostril, you can go ahead and release your hands down to your lap. And then if it feels comfortable, I'm going to take you through a couple of yoga poses as a way to get some movement in the body. And you'll see, this will take like 3-5 minutes. And just you'll get a sense of how these simple yoga poses in a couple minutes can really help us to feel good. So start with your feet about hip width apart. Bring a light bend in the knees. And just feel from the waist down, just feel the weight of your body dropping down to your feet. You can drop your tailbone and then engage your belly. So strengthen the muscles of the belly and pull the belly towards the spine, just a light pulling in. And then on your next inhale, lift through the heart. And then on the next exhale, let the shoulder blades drop to the mat. And just here, take a moment to notice how the body feels. You can even sway back and forth a little bit, rock forward and back, and then settle into the center. And notice from head to neck, to heart, to solar plexus, to belly, to hips, to root, how your body feels. All right, now step your right foot out a few inches so you're a little wider than hip width. Bend your knees and just begin to twist your arms slightly, back and forth. And as you turn, as you move to your left, your right foot can come up off the floor, and then vice versa. As you move to your right foot comes off the floor. As you move, actually I'm backwards with that. As you move to your right, left foot comes off the floor. As you move to your left, right foot comes off the floor. And you can begin to use your breath as you move. So each exhale as you turn to the side, inhale to center, exhale to other side. So you can move a little bit faster. So your hands can kind of hit the sides of your body as you turn. You can move your head along with your torso. And then slowly begin to slow down. And then come back to center and just notice how that feels on the body. All right, now again, bring that right foot in so your feet are hip width apart. And we're gonna begin with palm tree pose. And so on palm tree pose, on the inhale, you raise the hands up overhead and you come up onto the balls of the feet. And then on the exhale, the arms begin to lower and the heels lower down to the mat. And so this takes a little bit of balance and practice. It can be wobbly, and sometimes palm trees are wobbly. So let's do that a few more